All right, I'm going to go on record and say it right now. Sony set to raise the price of the PlayStation 5 because of tariffs. I'm not buying it. I smell a rat. Something smells totally phony to me here. I'm going to tell you why on today's show. So thanks so much for subscribing and being a part of the community here. You know, when I see these stories and the liberal media publishes all these headlines across CNBC and Forbes and all of these controlled legacy media rag publications, and they're all echoing the same thing, I always want to dig deeper because I smell a dirty rat here and it doesn't make sense. Because remember, these companies love to wrap themselves. They love to play the victim and they love to pretend and blame one particular thing for the reason why they're raising prices. So we'll get into all of this. So Sony today, earlier this morning in Japan, they come out with their forecast for the year, saying, you know, we're going to be down 13%. We're forecasting that things are just not going to be good for us here at Sony because of market conditions. I love that term, market conditions. Tariffs. Because of tariffs, because of Trump, we're probably going to be down 13% heading into this next quarter. That's not good. So Sony's stock goes down. But then later in the day, they release their quarterly results, their financial results from Q1, and their stock suddenly skyrockets up over 3.5%. Why? Oh, because their profits were through the roof. Record profits for Sony. And guess what? What was driving those record profits? Music division and, yes, their video game division. So now all of like the gaming press, the gaming tech press, you know, the podcasts and all of that love to just bag on whatever Trump does. And I'm independent. So, you know, I have no dog in this race, but I just can't stand bandwagon people. And I can't stand, pseudo intellectuals who don't know what they're talking about. And they get on with podcasts and they lament, oh my God, because of Trump, because of these tariffs, my life is now ruined. There's just too many of these gaming podcasts that do that, and it just drives me up the wall. Their lives are ruined because of Trump and the tariffs. Really? Okay, where were you over the past 4 years where inflation skyrocketed? The cost of everything exploded. Were you crying then about it? No, of course not. So anyway, I love that these companies now all get to raise their prices and blame Trump for it, which is fine. Like that's their plan. But I hope you guys will see through it when we actually go through some of the data. So let's look at Fast Company. Here's their report from today from Sony. Now, so many people in the games media, of course, are going to go over and just focus on what was said on this call. But I actually want to look at the numbers from their results because it's astonishing how well Sony is doing and how well their profits are doing. Sony announces record surge in profits for Q1. And here's how they did it, according to Fast Company. The Japanese entertainment giant reported an 18% increase in revenue for the fiscal year through March of this year. Oh, okay. You mean so during this period where we've had tariffs, you saw record profits? But now you're concerned with your forecast for the second quarter that your profits will be lower. Just so you understand, 18% increase this quarter versus Q1 of last year, same quarter, during monumentally high inflation. So this is how these companies do it, right? Chipotle, I mean, the list of companies that have seen record profits during Biden's inflationary period has been through the roof. They all get to wrap themselves in market conditions for why they're having to charge you $15 for a burrito. And they get to blame, they just get to pass it right on to you. Then they see record profits. So the reason that they're lowering their forecasts is because now they're going to say, well, we're going to see tariffs in place and, these market conditions, so we might not hit our numbers. So just to be clear, what you're saying is compared to the 18% increase you might be down about 13% this next quarter compared to Q1. So then you're making 5% profit. You're not going negative. But in this next quarter, you're just not going to make as much money as you did before, quarter over quarter over quarter, to record profits. So according to Hiroki Totoki, he outlined the company's strategy for growth and saying we're going to collaborate between all of our different segments of our company so that we, like animation and music and other areas of our company, to make sure that we're seeing continued growth in profits. One area that was pointed out in this conference call where they could, because of tariffs, increase profits is by increasing the price of the Sony PlayStation 5. So let me ask you this. The Sony PlayStation 4 launched at $399 with a disk drive. The Sony PlayStation 5 launched at $499 with a disk drive. What changed? But then you release a digital edition with no disk drive and charge $399, the same as the PlayStation 4 that has a physical disk drive, more components, more parts, more expensive processing, production. Now you've got a digital box. It's costing you less to produce. You're also not printing discs. You're downloading digital games, but you're charging us more for those things. So if you read the gaming press, like Tom Henderson, oh my God, the reason that Sony has downgraded their forecast is because of Trump's tariffs. And the reason they're going to raise potentially PlayStation 5 prices is because of Trump's tariffs. But just dive into what Fast Company had to say in their analysis. Sony officials said they were studying how to respond to President Trump's tariffs, although that was a challenge because of uncertainties and constant changes. But they said the negative impact from U.S. trade policy will be kept to 10% of Sony's operating profit in the coming fiscal year by adjusting the allocation of shipments, among other measures. Okay, so 10%. So you just had 18% profit. What you're worried about is that 10% window, which may or may not even be there, and which was also factored in to your initial first quarter results. So this 10%, we may see a pause. We're already seeing a pause between President Trump and China. There was a secret delegation of Chinese that came over to meet with President Trump in the Treasury Department. This was leaked out, actually. China said, we're not going to deal with Trump. We're not going to have any discussions about tariff policy. We're done negotiating. And then China secretly sent a delegation because they have to save face. So then they secretly sent a delegation. This leaked out, actually. And they were photographed, and they actually had asked to have their photos removed when they went in through the Treasury Department security cameras and all that. It was pretty funny. So anyway, nevertheless, there's a pause on this for 90 days. 90 days, which is most of this entire next quarter. So you're downgrading your forecast based on Trump's tariffs. Again, these companies, and I'm independent, so I have no dog in this hunt here, okay? I think both parties are corrupt. There's a uniparty in the United States of America. Both parties are corrupt. And I'm not an economist, and if you've studied tariff policy for many, many years and you've got a master's degree and you know it better than anyone, good for you. That's amazing. I'd love to pick your brain about it. I've had experts on my show from both sides who think that it's great, others that don't agree with it. And of course, the only way we'll find out is time. We need months to figure out how this is all going to shake out exactly and how this will benefit the United States of America. I live in the United States of America, so that's my primary concern. This company is $36 trillion in debt. We have a massive trade deficit. We have all sorts of horrible situations and relationships with different countries right now where we don't ship anything out of the United States. We've outsourced all of our manufacturing to many of these different countries. It's been horrible. It's been horrible. Horrible policies that have driven the United States into the ground. The U.S. dollar is collapsing. I could go on and on about it. So I have a concern that my country doesn't collapse. Full stop.
They don't want to give it straight. Because the press are liars. They're terrible people.
So I don't know exactly how this is all going to shake out from a tariff perspective. I don't know. But I will say that these companies, again, like Chipotle and these other companies, are using this period to blame it on, tariffs or whatever, market uncertainty, so they can raise their prices. So we see record profits, 18% profits, but we're downgrading our forecast by 13%. Which means we're going to be profitable by 5% in this next particular quarter, possibly. Okay, and these companies do this all the time where they issue lower guidance, lower forecasts, and then they see record profits on top of it, and the stock surges as a result. Oh my God, you guys thought you were only going to be, 13% down. You ended up being 20% up. It's crazy. So all I'm saying is, given these numbers and given the profitability of Sony, for them to then turn around and blame Trump's tariffs for the reason that they might have to raise Sony PlayStation 5 prices because you won't be you're still going to be 5% profitable? Really? In your guidance? But you need to raise prices to pass that on to consumers? Okay. So if you looked at the financial press, they didn't talk about that at all. The gaming press, though, was all over it, blaming, of course, tariffs for it. So again, I just want you to always just take it with a grain of salt when the gaming press jumps all over something like this. And you have to ask some serious questions about their motivation here when they're writing these types of articles. So I'll just read Tom Henderson here in this piece. In the latest quarterly earnings, Sony has said that it's currently considering raising PlayStation 5 prices due to the current tariff situation with America. The news came from Sony CFO Lin Tao, who said that the company currently needs to find 100 billion yen that they don't have, equivalent to $512 million, to make up for the impact of the current tariffs. In terms of tariffs, we're not just simply calculating the simple tariff prices, but we are thinking about the current available information and looking at the market trends. We may pass the price on to customers and also shipment allocation. So we're taking different measures in managing to come up with that $100 billion yen that we don't have. So then, of course, Sony CEO Hiroki Totoki says these hardwares can, of course, be produced locally. I think that would be an efficient strategy. But the PlayStation 5 is being manufactured in many different areas. So whether it's being manufactured in the US or not, it needs to be considered going forward in such a critical situation. So maybe moving manufacturing to the United States and investing in that infrastructure in the United States. So this would be a big deal. And Japan looks ready to play with the United States on this. And if Sony brings manufacturing to the United States, not only the United States, in fact, has made overtures where they would actually pay for the production facilities. They would actually foot the bill for them to build one of these facilities. By the way, in Japan, Sony has a facility that can build a PlayStation 5 in 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That's how quickly they can build a PlayStation 5. 30 seconds. So think about that for a second. Sony has already allocated tens of thousands of PlayStation 5s in the United States out of tariff zones, ready for development and deployment. They have the stock all throughout Europe, all throughout the United States, ready to go, ready to launch, ready to ship, ready to sell. So again, when I see these types of headlines, when I see these types of stories, always want to dig deeper because I don't believe it. I think these companies use this as an opportunity to avoid a pricing war with each other. They have the opportunity right now to all raise their prices and not get into a back and forth fighting over this. They can all blame Trump and they can all blame tariffs for the reason that they're charging $80 for a video game, that their Xbox is now raising their prices, Sony's now raising their prices. Nintendo can pretend like they're the good guys here. We're not raising our prices. We're going to keep it at $449, but some of our accessory prices, we're going to raise them because of tariffs, and they get to look like they're the good guys here, and we're not going to play the victim. We're not going to pass this on to the consumer, but we're the good guys. We're Nintendo. So we'll just charge more for a PlayStation, a Pro controller, or our camera, or some of the other accessories that go with the Switch too. But we're going to absorb this. We're going to absorb this pain right now because of Trump's tariffs. But then when you dive into the numbers and you see the massive record profits that they've had now in this first quarter over last year's profit numbers, give me a break. I'm not buying it. I don't believe it for a second. These companies use tariffs and they use inflation as a blanket to wrap themselves in, and they get to lie to all of us about it, and they see record profits as a result of it. Unbelievable. So I'm not buying it. But if you want to buy it, if you believe these headlines from these liberal media rags, then so be it. We won't know fully until we see the full financials. But when you're looking at Q1 results and you're up 18% right now, President Trump comes into office in January. A huge portion of this quarter has been affected by tariffs. And now you're seeing 18% profit this quarter? Okay. Okay. Something smells like a dirty rat in all of this. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. This just really makes me angry when I see all of these people jumping on the bandwagon and they don't want to go into the nuance of looking at these things. So thank you guys for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Hey, thanks for all of your feedback on the Doom the Dark Ages video that we did as well. If you missed that video, how they're getting rid of physical media, how so many people are canceling the pre-orders. I saw so many of you commenting on that video that you ordered Doom the Dark Ages because you thought you were actually going to get a physical game on the disc and you didn't. So you're canceling your pre-order. So let me know what you think about all of that and more. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, everyone. Have a great afternoon.